They say some stories are merely legends, and others are warnings wrapped in myth. But what if the tale of the Wendigo is more than just folklore? What if it is a doorway to an ancient, hidden truth, one that has been buried beneath centuries of fear and superstition in the shadowed depths of North America's frozen wilderness? The Algonquian tribes spoke of a being so terrifying that its very name was whispered in fear. The Wendigo, a creature of insatiable hunger, an entity that does not merely consume flesh, but devours the soul itself. It is said to be the embodiment of greed, of a hunger that can never be sated. But here's what they won't tell you. This legend is more than a warning against cannibalism. It is a reflection of a spiritual sickness, a force that lurks not only in the deep forests, but within the hearts of humanity. Could the Wendigo be more than just a monster? Could it be a profound symbol, one that exposes the darkest aspects of human nature, greed, and the corruption of the soul? And more importantly, does it still walk among us today? Not in the form of a horned beast, but as something far more insidious? In this journey, we will unravel the secrets hidden within this terrifying myth. We will explore its ancient origins, its deeper, esoteric meaning, and the truth about how this force may still be at play in our modern world. Stay with me, for once you understand the true nature of the Wendigo, you may begin to see it everywhere. To truly understand the Wendigo, we must first step back in time to an era before modern civilization, where the land was untamed and the spirits of the earth were honored and feared in equal measure. Among the vast, snow-covered forests of North America, the Algonquian-speaking tribes, such as the Cree, the Ojibwe, and the Innu, held a sacred reverence for nature. But they also understood something profound, that the greatest dangers did not always come from the outside world. Sometimes they came from within. The Wendigo legend was not merely a ghost story. It was a spiritual warning. The Algonquians believed that those who gave in to extreme greed, selfishness, or most horrifying of all, cannibalism, became something less than human. They became Wendigo, cursed with an unholy hunger that could never be satisfied. The more they consumed, the more they starved, forever craving that which would only deepen their torment. But here is where the story takes a turn that few dare to explore. Many believe the Wendigo was more than just a punishment. It was an entity, a force of nature, or perhaps even a spiritual parasite that could possess the weak-willed. According to some tales, one did not have to commit an act of cannibalism to become a Wendigo. It was enough to let greed, envy, and selfishness take root in the soul. This hints at something far deeper, an esoteric truth hidden beneath the surface. Could the Wendigo be a manifestation of spiritual corruption, a metaphysical sickness that feeds on those who stray too far from balance? Some tribal shamans spoke of Wendigo spirits, dark forces that whisper into the minds of the desperate, urging them toward acts of destruction. And once they succumbed, they were lost. This concept is not unique to the Algonquians. Many ancient traditions warn of shadow beings, spiritual parasites, and malevolent entities that feed on negative energy. From the Christian concept of demons tempting the soul to Tibetan folklore of hungry goats, the pattern is eerily familiar. Could it be that the Wendigo is not just a beast of legend, but a universal archetype, one that exists across cultures as a warning against losing oneself to greed, hunger, and darkness? And more disturbingly, if this force is real, how does it manifest in our modern world? The Wendigo is not merely a legend of the past. It is a force that persists, lurking beneath the surface of civilization, hidden in the dark corners of the human psyche. The question is not whether it exists, but how it manifests today. The Algonquians spoke of a spiritual sickness, a condition that did not simply create the Wendigo, it invited it. This is where we uncover the deeper truth. The Wendigo is more than a monster. It is a state of being. It is a force that takes root in those who give in to insatiable greed, those who consume without gratitude, those who are never satisfied, no matter how much they take. We have been led to believe that the Wendigo is a creature of the wilderness, stalking the lost and the starving. But what if the most dangerous Wendigos are not in the forest, but among us? Look at the world we live in, a world where corporations hoard wealth, where leaders wage war for resources, where humanity consumes endlessly without thought of consequence. The Wendigo's hunger is alive and well. It no longer hides in the woods. It walks in the form of unchecked greed, excess, and destruction. But this concept is not new. Ancient traditions across the world warned of this same force. The Hopi spoke of Koyaanisqatsi, a life out of balance, where greed leads to destruction. Hindu philosophy warns of Rakshasas, beings consumed by their own desires, who destroy everything in their path. Even in Western traditions, the concept of the 7 deadly sins reflects the same truth. Gluttony, greed, wrath, each one a step closer to becoming Wendigo. The more we consume, the more we desire. The more we take, the emptier we become. Just like the Wendigo, modern society is trapped in a cycle of endless hunger. But there's another layer to this, a far darker truth. Some believe the Wendigo is not just a metaphor, but a real parasitic force. What if the stories of possession were true? What if this hunger is not simply human greed, but something that feeds on greed itself? There are whispers in esoteric circles of thought forms, entities created by collective human emotions, beings that exist in the unseen realms, thriving on fear, desire, and excess. Could it be that the Wendigo is one such force, a parasite of the astral world that attaches itself to those who succumb to its influence? If so, how many have already been consumed? If the Wendigo is not just a creature, but a force, an entity that thrives on greed, excess, and hunger, then we must ask, how does it spread? How does it infect the minds of humanity? Some legends tell of a curse, passed from one to another like a contagion. A person does not merely become a Wendigo by their own actions, but by being exposed to the energy of one, as if the hunger itself is a disease of the soul. This echoes certain occult teachings, which suggest that negative forces can embed themselves within the human psyche, subtly manipulating thoughts and desires until they fully take over. The Wendigo as an astral parasite. In esoteric traditions, there is a concept of non-physical entities that feed on human energy. Some call them archons, others refer to them as egregores, or even demonic forces. But the pattern remains the same. These entities are drawn to lower vibrational states: fear, greed, obsession, and destruction. Could the Wendigo be one such force? A spiritual predator, waiting for its moment to latch onto the vulnerable? Many accounts of Wendigo lore describe not just a physical transformation, but a psychic change, one that happens long before the body follows. The victim begins to hear whispers, subtle at first, like a distant wind through the trees. Then, the thoughts become intrusive. Take more, consume. Hunger is never satisfied, and before they realize it, they are no longer in control. This idea is eerily similar to reports from shamans and spiritual practitioners who speak of possession, not by a singular being, but by a thought form that grows stronger the more it is fed. Some traditions claim that these forces have no true form of their own. Instead, they take the shape of the person's worst impulses, amplifying them until there is nothing left but hunger. If this is true, then the modern world is the perfect hunting ground. The Wendigo's presence in society. We no longer live in the frozen forests where the Wendigo legend was born. But that does not mean the Wendigo has vanished. Instead, it has evolved. It now thrives in corporate boardrooms, in the unchecked greed of financial empires, in the way people consume endlessly without ever feeling fulfilled. It is present in the insatiable hunger for power, for wealth, for destruction. Look at history, how entire civilizations have fallen because their leaders could never satisfy their thirst for conquest. How industries exploit both people and the earth, taking and taking until nothing remains. How individuals are conditioned to believe that more is the only path to happiness, yet happiness never comes. This is the Wendigo's trap, the promise of satisfaction that never arrives, the illusion of fulfillment that only leads to deeper hunger. But if the Wendigo is a force, if it is an energy that feeds on this imbalance, then the question remains, can it be defeated, or is it too late?